This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
Did the whole Multiverse of Madness movie feel like a fake trailer? It did to me.
I mean, besides the fact that it was real and it happened to you.
It was much longer than a trailer.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a certain inauthenticity about the entire movie, the entire experience from beginning to end. There's something like very out of step that made me feel like this wasn't taken seriously. This was like an assembly of deleted clips that somebody turned into a movie.
I mean, I could say the same thing about like almost every like phase 4 thing.
Yeah.
It feels like where are we going? What are
Aimless.
we doing?
Yeah, and let's start here. So okay, so Dan's back. Hi, Dan.
Yes, hello.
Dan's back.
And spoilers for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Here's how it went down. One by one, the Discord went to go see this movie. And Dan comes back, not calling it fine, saying that he hates it. He's calling it a piece of shit. Like he hates it. And I'm like, ooh, wow. Because I was anticipating this movie more than any other Marvel film, actually. Love and Thunder, maybe I'm anticipating equally. But I thought, I was like, Doctor Strange and Wanda are characters that haven't outstayed their welcome, in my opinion. They haven't been overdone. They have interesting powers. Wanda was just given an incredible like place to go. Like, wow, like the potential for this character now. So I thought they've been setting up this multiverse stuff. Loki did a big thing. Spider-Man did a big thing. So I was expecting this to be, I think it's reasonable to have expected this film to be a culminating event, something to pivot the overall story on. And that is not what was delivered. What was delivered was cold popcorn.
It's just kind of another one, isn't it? It's
it's less than again. I think it's even less than another one,
Well, yeah, because we've seen
I really enjoyed it.
You loved it, EJ?
I didn't love it, but I was entertained. I don't know. But the thing is, like,
goddamn,
I think I'm already checked out with Marvel's like stuff in general. Like, I think it's already had too many misses that I don't know. I was just down to clown. I was down to clown around with Sam Raimi.
I wasn't down to clown for 1 second. I refused. No, I don't know. To me, it felt like there's this new thing that I'm seeing where it's cool to say that you don't care about the continuity.
Well, that's BS.
And it's like, well, how does that? Why would I watch 30 movies and not care about continuity? That'd be like being on episode 30 of a TV show and being like, I don't really care if this goes anywhere, especially after like I felt like
that's the smartest way to watch a lot of TV shows.
You think so? Explain.
Oh no, I was just calling a lot of TV shows shit. That wasn't meant to be.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's true that if a show,
after season 4,
it's true that if a show goes on long enough, they start to sort of abandon plot threads and they kind of even reboot themselves to some degree. But my theory is, and we'll get into all the details, but my theory is that Kevin Feige, his milestone was Endgame. He worked his adult life on building this, first getting a career in Hollywood, then working on the X-Men films and getting his feet wet. And then he built the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it culminated miraculously from Iron Man to Endgame. That was a pretty amazing thing that man pulled off. And I think he's doing victory laps and he's trying to hand it off, and he wants to do something with Star Wars, I hear. I don't think this guy cares anymore. And who can blame him? Because I don't give a fuck either about these superpowers and these capes.
Would it surprise you that the writer of Multiverse of Madness is the same writer as Loki?
Not one bit, because I hate that fucking show.
And he's also a writer on Rick and Morty.
I also hate that show. But let me ask you this. Why did this movie have nothing to do with Loki?
Yeah, that's the thing, is because I was listening to a podcast about Loki a long time ago. Yeah. And they were interviewing this writer, and he was going from Loki to the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So I thought, especially when at the end of Loki, there's a huge like split and there's all this stuff. And same thing with Spider-Man. There's like the split stuff. Yeah, that stuff it totally doesn't
I was already frustrated. I was already a little bit frustrated that like how the multiverse opened in the first place was explained twice redundantly. Like Spider-Man had an event like that and Loki had an event like that. I was like, oh, did they happen coincidentally around the same time? And that makes the multiverse very maddening. At the very least, I thought that it would have something to do with these two events. It had nothing. The most important thing to this movie was that we throw musical notes and that we have zombies. And America Chavez, a character that could probably could you describe this character with words if you had to?
If they didn't want like the multiverse to be a MacGuffin, so they just made it like a stiff human.
So they had her be a MacGuffin.
To be honest, I actually thought she was all right.
Explain.
Well.
All right. Like I'm so glad I'm glad I paid $14 to watch her.
But it wasn't called fucking America Chavez and the Multiverse of Madness, was it? And you got
it should have been.
You got like 4 Doctor Strangers for your money. That's who I came to see.
Oddly enough, I found Doctor Strange to be one of the least interesting characters in the whole thing. Like I kept forgetting sort of about him.
Yeah. It was when it comes to Doctor Strange, it was very story poor. Which is interesting. And I kind of get it in some way because there's been like 5 movies with him in it. Like if you just want him to be like James Bond, he doesn't grow or do anything, that's fine.
Can I ask you a question? Why isn't America Chavez a mutant? At this point, people are just born with powers. There was a time before, because obviously they're going to do mutants, but there was a time where everybody who had a power, there was some sort of scientific reason for it. There was some kind of explanation. Now people are just born with powers.
Yeah, they don't really explain.
So they're mutants.
Well, she's
right?
from another universe where they're born with powers.
Well, they've just and food's free, pizza balls.
Look, it's kind of weird that you have to pay for your food.
I took that as that she's just been inadvertently stealing food everywhere.
That's kind of fun, but it is left open to interpretation.
Didn't you find it kind of
fun thing?
Didn't you find it kind of Rise of Skywalker-ish in nature?
It's a little bit like that, but I don't know. I had more fun with it, and I can't really explain. Maybe I think I really liked Wanda as like a terrifying villain. Like it was really just having her be like this force of nature that's coming after you was terrifying and fun to me.
It's the closest thing to something I liked because her performance is excellent. I love her. I wouldn't love her nearly as much had I not seen WandaVision, but WandaVision, informs the character because that's what you can do with long form stories. No, we wouldn't want continuity between these movies. But that might empower the narrative in some way. But like I thought that they kind of took something that they really developed that was nuanced and sophisticated with WandaVision and then kind of made it stupid in this one by being like, she's just an evil bitch.
I mean, some people might argue that they made it stupid at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I thought that show actually did kind of earn its big portal.
Oh yeah, no,
Skybeam.
Yeah. Well, also at the same time, while the big Sky fight is going on, you've got the two visions both talking to each other. Like, what if there was this boat?
That vision scene where the two visions are talking to each other, like I don't know why, like it brings like a tear to my eye. Like I found it like moving to watch these two like philosophers. This movie had nothing like that. Maybe his zombie
it
monologue.
Didn't have vision, which I thought was kind of strange.
Yeah, give me a little bit of coke doing Paul Bettany. Now that we know that Paul Bettany does coke with Johnny Depp. Poor Paul Bettany got roped into this whole courtroom drama.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like, is it true that you were doing cocaine with Paul Bettany? I did a little bit of cocaine.
Sorry, it was the sniff intention.
Yeah, I mean,
am I the original Johnny Depp who did cocaine with you, or am I the wooden boat?
And for things that were like done better in other like Marvel stuff, like they were hinting at like a kind of a master apprentice relationship with America and Doctor Strange, but that was done way better in like Hawkeye, and it's like
that's a really good comparison, actually.
it's like, does phase 4 really have to be like the grief and trauma phase? Like, does every single
depression and anxiety, SSRIs?
Well, I mean, like, there was a lot of grief in this. There's so much grief surrounding the passing of Patrick Stewart that they dug him up, put him in a chair.
Yeah, I noticed that this is the third time that Patrick Stewart's Xavier has died in a movie. So just in case anybody's not keeping count, the original Dark Phoenix killed him in X-Men 3. He died in Logan by the hand of a dark doppelganger of Wolverine. And now he's been killed by Wanda. Who is it? And by the way, if you're going to bring Xavier in, if you're going to do it, if you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to dedicate like 15, 20 minutes of my useless, pointless fucking movie, it goes nowhere. 20 minutes of it's going to be dedicated chaotically to Xavier. I'm not going to connect it to Magneto. Will have nothing to do with the Scarlet Witch, despite the fact that he's obviously her dad. In his universe, she wasn't an X-Men, or she wasn't they don't know each other. Is that the situation? Yeah, there was just no X-Men content for some reason.
We will see what kind of Doctor Strange you are.
I'm just as old as I was in 1997.
There's the thing that I.
Yeah, you go to.
No. Well, the thing that happened. It was like a queue, like everyone was going in, like seeing the film. And I think here it came out like slightly before it did for you guys.
Oh, really?
So I saw it at like 9 o'clock in the morning in 3D. And then I just came home, and it was kind of maddening, because it was like it's
madness.
Am I
the breakfast of madness?
Did that happen?
Yeah.
And there was no one to talk to about it. It was really
disorienting. You felt like you were in a different universe.
But again, I was laughing all the way home, just at because they've got really old Patrick Stewart. He's really old, and they've got him in that chair, and they've got the X-Men music, and I think that's meant to be for me to go, oh, great, X-Men. But instead, I'm just looking at it. It's like, this guy's so old, and then they make him stand up, and he's like, I'm going to pull you out of these rocks. I doubt it.
I doubt his fucking pants.
I did like how brutal it was. Like, I know it's like trivial, but I liked that if you're gonna have Wanda be the villain, like have her, melt in some guy's skull, or
but is that? I remember when Scott Derrickson, the director of several horror films, I can't remember. There was one with starring Ethan Hawke that dude did that I saw that I kind of liked. It was like an A24 movie, one of these. They made it for like $4 million. Anyway, he went on to make I think he made The Day the Earth Stood Still, the remake of that.
That's a terrible movie.
yeah, he's not happy with it either. But he got hired to do Doctor Strange 1, and then he was to do the second one. And remember when they announced in the same Comic-Con or something, Multiverse of Madness, that title, and they announced Thor, Love and Thunder, and Natalie Portman's going to be Girl Thor. And I remember Scott Derrickson was still signed up for the director, and he was like, and it's going to be the first Marvel movie to be a horror film. And everybody goes crazy and it seemed exciting. It was like, oh, that'd be a cool direction to take it. Of all the options, of all the, the Multiverse of Madness, this could be like a cerebral horror thriller or something. Where are you going to take it? What horrors will you bestow on the audience? The horror was that Wanda's kills will be gory uncharacteristically. Like, the villain will be more brutal than normal. That's your horror. That's your idea.
I don't know. I found it pretty horrifying, because it's like your worst nightmare is the most powerful superhero coming after you. I felt that was really fun. I loved it. And I felt like I liked seeing those Illuminati, because I don't care about fan service. Like, people were like clapping in the theaters when like Reed Richards showed up and flatly said lines. But then when he got like unraveled, like he was unzipped and his head popped, I was like, yay!
But
It
worked on me. I liked seeing all those people die. I like seeing the old man get his head snapped in his
dream. Am I watching this? Why am I watching this? What am I here for?
I don't know why I'm watching it, but I loved it.
to watch Sam Raimi troll the audience
I don't know. It's fun. I was having fun. I can't describe it. Like, I enjoyed Thor: Dark World, and I can't describe why I liked it. I was in the right mood.
Yeah, Thor: The Dark World doesn't have much going for it, but there's a sequence in there with Loki and Thor where they're kind of like antagonistic brothers that I actually remember. They make like an escape togetger. Yeah, I remember thinking that was a pretty good scene. That was about it, though.
Yeah, well, that's sort of like the kind of thing that sort of like carries those films. And I was thinking about this earlier, but like if you look at Iron Man 1, 2, and 3,
yeah,
you know that's got like an Avengers film in the middle. They feel like a series of films, and it's the same with Thor. Yeah, and it's like kind of the same with Captain America, but to probably like a lesser extent. This doesn't feel like a sequel to that first film at all. It's just
that's true,
completely a different thing.
And if they were going to make this suck, then that would have been the better thing to default to. But this had the potential, in my view, to be like, you know how like Thor 3 takes it to a new place, Captain America 2 takes it to a different place, kind of changes it up and integrates it better with the larger story. And I think I would argue that you could probably watch Cap 1, 2, no, Cap 2, 3, Infinity War, and Endgame, all of the Russo brothers movies, and those feel like actually kind of like a continuous story in a way. But I don't know, like to me, like sequelizing Doctor Strange 1, like where else is there to go with it? Like his personal journey to be a wizard and to overcome his hands, and also this thing with Rachel McAdams that nobody in the audience cares about. Clearly Sam Raimi doesn't care about this. Somebody wrote it for him and he had to get through it. The Rachel McAdams stuff is like worse than that first Thor movie with Natalie Portman, where like, here's girl.
What I will say,
I don't know if it's quite that bad.
You think it's better than that?
If you want to see a good Doctor Strange story with multiverse, you see the What If episode that he's in. That's a way better story.
Yes,
it's the most shocking thing, because for a series that is like, it's so hit and miss, and then the Doctor Strange episode is better than the movie. It's like, that's how does that happen?
I had a theory about What If, that it was it's like their animatics department, it's their previs department. They were like, you guys do such amazing work, and let's face it, you direct most of our movies anyway, because like we bring in like like an indie director from Sundance to do like the dialogue scenes, and then the previs guys do all the action scenes. Like, you guys, let's face it, you guys make these movies anyway. What if you just made an animated series? I kind of think that it's something like that, but
I think they pretty much said that's what they did.
Like we had extra resources hanging around, and this Disney Plus thing, we got to feed it. But yeah, I think that Doctor Strange episode, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's like, what story could you tell with this character? It's a great, like, yeah, his like, I sought power to the point that I became a monster, and I could not escape the fate of one of this woman dying. I think that's super cool.
And yet we're presented with these two universes in this film.
Yeah,
which is alive and well.
When they said Multiverse of Madness, I expected more than two universes.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell. I thought I was in good hands. I'm not in good hands. I'm in Sam Raimi's fucking stupid hands. And there's the word stupidity, right? Stupidity is something that you exhibit. It's something that like, hey, like knock off all this stupidity. Then there's this other thing that I like to call stupidness. Stupidness is something that like you inject into, like Sam Raimi always puts a lot of stupidness in his movies. And I think when you say this is very much a Sam Raimi movie, I think you mean it's a Marvel movie and he put some of his stupidness in it. Like Bruce Campbell with the mustard for no reason and him running around with a camera.
There's cars in it.
I'm really pissy about this movie. I'm sorry. But I'm just what a squandered empty promise of a film, maybe. And I know what you'll say. Comments. Your expectations were too high. I just went in looking to get my rocks off on a movie. But where are your standards? That's my question for you. Where are your standards?
I don't know. I had fun. I thought it was up to some standard. I think because I just finished Moon Knight, and Moon Knight was so just wreck. It was so bad, and it didn't connect to anything. It was bad on its own merits. It just needs something else. It was flat. And then I don't know. I wanted to swing a camera around with Raimi. I don't know. I wanted to see like over the top reaction shots to monsters. And
my girlfriend loves this film,
and she doesn't want to hear. She doesn't want to hear one bad word about it.
Well, I wouldn't know if that's necessarily true.
That's what you said. I'm literally quoting you. I'm prompting you. You said she won't hear one bad word about it.
Is it? Could you say what she likes about it? Could you summarize or?
She loves Wanda, and she really liked WandaVision. And I think it just it was a film she's been really excited for a really long time. And then she went in and she enjoyed what she saw, and that's fair enough. I can't really argue with that.
One thing, okay, here's one thing I can't stand about these Marvel movies, like forever, is those mid-credit sequence where, like, some comic book hero jumps into the frame.
Come on,
like, come on, and I'm like, who's that? What's this?
And you know who she is? She's Girl Doctor Strange, because it's Girl Hawkeye, it's Girl Captain America, it's Girl Iron Man, it's Girl Hulk, it's Girl everybody. And literally, I looked it up. I said, "Who's Charlize Theron?" They're like, "In the comics, that's Girl Doctor Strange." I was like, "Oh, okay, just in time." I actually confused her for a second with Angelina Jolie, and I was like, "Oh, is she one of the Eternals?"
I didn't know who, like, she's like this purple lady with purple eyeliner comes in and it's like, "Come with me," and then I'm like, "We're doing this still?"
I thought it was. I thought for sure it was one of the Eternals, and people were going to be like, "Oh, she's in her original purple costume from the comics from the Eternals." Like, I don't want to hear about your fucking comics either, by the way, because I've been hearing that. Like, actually, it's the most like a comic book. I'm like, well, it's a movie, so I don't want it to be like a comic book. It's like the whole like you had to have read the expanded universe to appreciate it.
Yeah. No, when I saw that character pop on screen, I'm like, okay, my feed is going to be filled with thumbnails of that, like Charlize Theron and the purple thing, and they'll be like, "Who is this character? We'll tell you." And you're just like, "Oh,
IGN is going to be all over this shit." IGN's
I did get that thumbnail from IGN.
But before we get into who the purple suited Charlize Theron is, let's take a look at the Multiverse of Madness. You know these fucking videos. Dan, you live on the other side of the galaxy. Do you must watch the IGN videos? Actively.
Oh, I get all the same garbage that America gets. That's the way the UK works. Did you know that in Doctor Strange?
Do you ever read?
But first, let's talk about Raid Shadow Legends.
Do you ever get sucked into the articles that they share on Facebook that are like they'll take like half of a quote that like a director said that seems slightly intriguing, and you're like, there must be more to it, and then they filibuster for several paragraphs about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is based on a series of comics. The comics starting with Iron Man and then going into Captain America. They have to get all of the Infinity Stones, and it's like it's
auto-generated. It's like auto-generated.
Yeah. And as I'm scrolling, I'm like, yes. They're like, "Oh, you're not getting away that easily. You're not going to scroll past all this text. Here come the ads." You're going to accidentally hit one.
But then there's always that guy in the comments who's like, "This article's shit. It says this." It's like,
for me, it's rarely one guy. It's a wall of Facebook comments that are like, "Fuck this. How many ads did I have to get?" Like, everybody hates it. I've started to see comments that are like, here's some instructions on Facebook on how to hide all posts from Wired from this point forward, or whatever. I just a couple other quick things about Multiverse of Madness. The Danny Elfman score that you mentioned, that little moment. I think that's a good metaphor for some of what's going on here, which is like, there's no story, there's no point, there's no substance to what I'm watching. And the composer doesn't know what to do about it. They're like, I don't really know how to score a scene that's pointless. So he's like, if I add like that little riff from the X-Men animated series, it might make them think that it's about the X-Men. And Elfman did it in the Joss Whedon cut, which everybody would agree is the worst thing that they've ever seen. Yeah, he played a little bit of his own Batman music in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And
the
Superman score.
And the Superman score. And sure enough, like it works on people. Like, did you hear that there's a little bit of Superman in there?
X-Men, I watched the cartoons when I was little.
Right, but did you see the movie where nothing happened in it? And there's something like, I started this conversation by being like, there's something like fake feeling about it. There's something that's like, it's becoming way too easy to get everybody in the set, to put the cameras on, to animate it and release it. It's starting to be not hard enough work to make a movie, I think.
Something like that. I'm sure there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but they have the machine like just constantly churning.
Yeah.
But they don't have the story or a plan to go into it.
There was a thing that I shared with you guys that Elizabeth Olsen had said, where it was like, I hate when people criticize these Marvel films because people work really hard on them. It's like
the working
what? They work, you know?
They work so hard.
What did you guys make of the revelation that every time someone's asleep and having a dream, that's them in a different universe?
I guess I was like, well, that would start to kind of, it's a bit dumb, but I actually didn't bump into it too hard. I was kind of like, well, that would maybe we could make that work. I was trying to
like 30 movies so far.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like, so in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which no one remembers, there's that bit where Scott Lang's having dreams that he's Michelle Pfeiffer playing hide and seek. So does that mean in another universe?
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
maybe
it's all.
Oh yeah, wasn't Iron Man in Iron Man 3 having like PTSD nightmares all the time about New York? Is he actually reliving New York every time?
Maybe he's going to another universe.
I'll tell you who doesn't care. Kevin Feige. He doesn't care. He's like, run with it. Be creative. Go crazy. Fuck this whole thing up.
Fuck this whole thing. Make a girl boss.
Maybe every time you fall asleep, it's a girl version of you. Let me ask you this. Do they refuse to do the X-Men at this point? Is this the official refusal?
Well, that's the thing is like, I can understand like taking your time with it, but it does feel like they're not even going to try or like,
I mean, this is like the third or fourth punk out. Like Pietro was pretty bad actually in WandaVision, where it was like, really, like this was your opportunity to, if you wanted to switch Quicksilvers, which wouldn't be a bad idea because this is a better Quicksilver. Here's your opportunity, and they just were like, nah, his name is Huge Wiener, and that's actually the point of him.
It's pronounced Hugh.
What was his actual name, by the way? Do you remember?
Was it Ralph Boner?
Ralph Boner.
Yeah. It kind of felt. Yeah, it felt like a punt. But when they did that, especially, I was like, "Ooh, it just feels like a weird punt."
I think like the way, the thing that would have been fine. So if I were to be generous and say like, yeah, all right, let's have like a Sam Raimi excursion. Wouldn't it make more sense to be like, here's like the alternate Iron Man, here's the alternate Captain America, here's the alternate Hulk, here's a bunch of characters we've already met, many of whom have like the actors don't play the roles anymore. Here's like alternate versions of them, and Wanda can kill the fuck out of them or something. Wouldn't it make a little bit more sense to take something that has already been given its day and then troll it versus something that's like, yeah, but I don't even, if I was new to the comics, if I was new to the movies, I wouldn't know what a Fantastic Four was. This wouldn't be significant to me in any way.
No, that makes sense. And I remember seeing a bunch of thumbnails on Facebook when I scrolled by. It would be like, Tom Cruise is gonna be Iron Man, Multiverse of Madness, and there was a bunch of stuff that was fake.
That would make more sense. Matt Damon's Thor or whatever, or he played Loki.
Yeah, you could get Eric Bana. Is it? No.
Yeah. Make Eric. Make Eric Bana real. Hashtag. Make Eric Bana real. I wouldn't mind that. Do you remember seeing like the trailer for the first Hulk? Yeah, I remember X-Men came out, Spider-Man came out, and I remember that was the first. It was like all the Marvel superheroes are going to get their own cool CG movies, and then there was a trailer that was like, I think it was like the Hulk hulking out in his house, and the house blows up, and then it was like Hulk. That was all the trailer was. Huh. It was like they're going to do Hulk too. Do you remember that, Dan? You must have been 2.
No, I was slightly older than 2.
Was that the Ang Lee Hulk?
Yeah. When Ang Lee was like, I don't know what to do with this, and he did like actual comic book panels. He's like,
yeah, he had panels in the screens. I remember that.
Yeah,
it's a really bad film.
I don't remember anything about it.
Nick Nolte is the dad, and he's the villain.
Does he does he get like electrified or something at the end?
Yeah,
I remember some things about that.
You know what? I take back everything I just said about Multiverse of Madness. It's super good compared to Ang Lee's Hulk. Ang Lee's Hulk is like 7 hours and like a liquid Hulk like fights wolves in it. You know? Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it besides the electric dad.
Let's think about some.
It seemed to be trying to say something, but it was so boring that you couldn't latch onto a second of it.
It was like a morose Hulk movie. And then you know what? The Ed Norton one wasn't much more fun than that either.
Yeah, I get them mixed up because they're sort of close together. So I get them mixed up all the time. Like, yeah.
Let's think of some movies that nobody likes that are better than Multiverse of Madness, shall we? X-Men.
That's like a very mean exercise.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
X-Men 3. Yeah, what do you like better, Ant-Man and the Wasp or Multiverse?
Oh, it's tough because Ant-Man and the Wasp has nothing in it. But then, well, you know, I guess this has really old Patrick Stewart. Black Bolt.
You just think of the funny part.
Reason. Yeah, because it's kind of.
Do they try to hide his? Do they think that nobody will kind of remember how old he was in the? Because I kind of forget. Like, this guy's just been old for a long time. He's been bald for a long time. I kind of forget what age the Xavier character is even supposed to be. Go back to the original X-Men movie, and you're like, wow, he looks like he's like 25 in this.
And then if you go back to X-Men 3, he looks even younger.
Yeah, he somehow got younger because he got blowed up, and then he got resurrected in the form of some other guy, and then they didn't really fall. Do you remember how that whole thing went down? There's an after credit scene in X-Men 3. He's like Moira, and he's like getting resurrected in like somebody's corpse or something. I don't remember. And then they kind of let go of it. They did First Class. They did X-Men Origins. And then in the after credits of the Wolverine, he just comes fucking out in his chair. He's just in his chair. I thought maybe he'd come back as a different dude. Maybe as James.
they like totally.
You're not the only one with gifts. You're not the only one with gifts.
Doesn't he also have a fake out death in Days of Future Past? I think he dies 4 times.
Yeah, because they all die.
Yeah, they all die. So
you're right.
Holy. So he's they've been killing this guy so many times.
I'm back, baby.
He's 80, right? 80 years old. Do you remember when your grandparents were 80 years old? If you were lucky enough to have grandparents that got to that ripe old age. 80 is old. I know it's not as old as it used to be, but it's fucking old. You shouldn't be like maybe you could make appearances in movies here and there, but you shouldn't be doing multi-seasons of TV series as Picard still.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it feels like elder abuse at this point.
Yeah.
There was a thing that I was thinking about as well after I'd seen the film. Sorry, I can't get off Patrick Stewart. He's so old.
He's the most important.
He should not have been in this film. And for that to be like the introduction of Professor X, is like, what, you're going to keep him around?
Right, right.
You're going to recast that? Or
I think that's why they snapped his neck.
It took me a minute. Like, yeah, I think
he'll be back.
It took me a minute. He always
comes back.
This is the kind of stupid stuff I think about, on the drive home with my wife's in the passenger seat. I'm not talking to her. I'm in deep thought about something that's, I'm going to say this on the podcast. But I was thinking about, I was like, wait, if it's Patrick Stewart as Xavier, then isn't that the same Xavier that gets killed in Logan? So where does this fit in? And I thought, no. You can have, this is some other continuity version of him, just happens to be played by Xavier, right? Because like every Doctor Strange is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, apparently.
Yeah, but they're not the same Benedict Cumberbatch,
right,
but
so
they're
it's
the
fine.
same.
So it's fine. I'll let the movie go.
Look, sometimes red light means go, or
right.
They're pizza balls.
Or sometimes we live in a communist utopia.
If they wanted to be a brave movie, they got the guy who played Doctor Strange in that TV movie in the 70s. Just had him be one of them.
I've never seen that movie. I thought I have a Plex library of every non-MCU Marvel film. Is it really bad? Yeah. But I've got
I was describing your Plex library.
I've got all the Captain Americas. I've got Nick Fury. I've got just about everything. I got the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which I'm sure you guys have seen or at least heard of the Superman.
Yeah, I've seen I don't know, some random YouTuber talk about it, of course, at some point in my life.
Well, there was you probably have heard of the Superman Lives documentary.
Yes.
Are you going to start talking about Doomed?
Yeah, I'm going to start talking about this. Yes, exactly. I bought like a Blu-ray off of their website because I don't think it ever got distributed or anything. It was just some people who decided to make it, but they got all the original actors from this like Roger Corman movie. And it was actually a pretty good little documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
About the making of a, for those who don't know, it was the making of a Fantastic Four film that had to get made to retain license rights. So it was made to not be released, and it was never released. They just had to. So they took like $1 million and made a fake movie, and none of the the actors who were involved didn't know that was the deal.
Yeah, it's the whole film is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all on there. But I was thinking about this. So when Patrick Stewart first played Professor X, he's like young Professor X.
Right.
And he's that guy through like 3 films.
Yeah.
And then he comes back for Days of Future Past, and he's still playing that Professor X. And he kind of gets away from, he kind of gets away with it. And then he shows up in Logan as probably like trying to like play above his age and stuff. And he's like, he's meant to be the oldest Professor X you'll ever see, and just like mentally gone, and then he comes back as like I'm young again. I'm sorry.
We got to go to the aged universe, which is where the Illuminati is. Yeah, I think he plays 90 in Logan, and he is truly 80, looking about 90. But in Days of Future Past, you get away with it a little bit because it's not clear how far into the future the Sentinel apocalypse is.
I did look up the ages, and apparently he's meant to be 91 in that.
Oh, really? Because
so
like
it makes sense of that.
Because Kitty Pryde doesn't seem to be 40, or
Yeah, the Fox continuity is all over the place.
Yeah. We were talking about it a bit in Discord where we were like, maybe the reason they're not committing to X-Men is because I know that the X-Men movies weren't perfect by any stretch, but like can you realistically kind of reboot that franchise? And I mean, like, it was very self-actualized, and I'm not sure you're ever really going to do better than Days of Future Past or some of the best movies.
I think they've made it more difficult for themselves now.
Yeah,
because there was this whole thing for years. It was like, well, we can't have 2 Spider-Man at the same time because it'll confuse the audience and whatever. And there was this kind of understanding. And now they've done all like the multiverse stuff, and they've been the 3 different Spider-Man together. We've got like 3 Batman in cinemas now. So if you introduce a Professor X as a new Professor X, but he's the guy from the old films, and then you recast that Professor X for your new films going forward, it's like, that's really messy. That's a really...
Yeah. I feel like instead of like Moon Knight, they should just do an X-Men series, live action series.
That's that's exactly right. That's what I mean is like, guys, go ahead and do the X-Men. No, like, nah, Moon Knight. It's more important. It's like, okay, show me something new with Moon Knight, right? Like, no, I can't do that. I'm gonna show you a real piece of shit show. I've heard people defend Moon Knight. Never strongly.
I haven't even heard, like, even since last episode I've heard anybody talk about Moon Knight.
Everybody went real quiet after the finale. Everybody went real quiet. Everybody was like, you know what? There's nothing there. It went no. I mean, Dan still thinks it's fine, and that's fine. Fine. But
I'm actually trying to struggle to think what happened in that final episode.
So you like Moon Knight more than Doctor Strange? That's the real question here.
It's really, well, I mean, here's the thing. I've been back and forth on this film because there are, there's sequences that I enjoy, like, the whole of the Illuminati getting brutally killed to death for no reason is kind of fun visually. And there's, like some of the horror aspects, like EJ was talking about, are kind of like well executed. And, there's stuff in there that's good. Well, that should be good. And then there's stuff that I just find funny, and it's kind of like it doesn't come together into anything.
Well, that's my actual issue with it, because I don't know. I don't really go to a movie to see like a special effects demo or to see like, oh, that's compositionally interesting. If I did, I would love Zack Snyder films a lot more than I do. But
I love Zack Snyder films.
I mean, like, League is great.
Did you ever watch
4 hours long
Army of the Dead? Was it?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's pretty shitty. I think I defended it at the time. I was wrong to do so.
Is that the one where they've got to like break into Vegas and there's a vault?
There was a
whole character that he replaced because of like Me Too allegations and stuff.
Yeah, the green screen Tig Notaro.
Yeah. He became they were
Crystalia.
She came through a portal and she was like, Crystalia, come on, let's go. I'm the new girl you. There's a really beautiful opening credit sequence in Army of the Dead, and that to me is all it's got going for it.
He's great at those. He's great at those.
Yeah, it's really good. No, it's very good.
You can really tell that the guy got his start in like music videos and stuff like that, because for 3 minutes he can keep you visually entertained.
Wow. That's why I was so unconvinced that his cut of Justice League would bring anything to the table. If anything, I thought it would make it even worse. But no, he showed up with the goods, and like I maybe I will need to go back and watch the extended BVS, because I'm convinced that BVS is very bad. It's V bad.
Yeah, but, I mean, I only saw the theatrical cut, and it was V bad.
But maybe now that I know where it all goes, sometimes an ending, you ever see a movie that you thought was pretty mediocre and then it really stuck the landing on the ending and it kind of colors the rest of the movie as it elevates the whole thing. The ending matters. Where it all heads matters.
Yeah, kind of like Days of Future Past and how that makes X-Men 3 sort of okay.
I have this theory that if somebody like wanted to see some really good X-Men, I think that there's a viewing, like when they talk about like, here's the real way to watch Star Wars, or here's like the order to watch Star Wars in or whatever. I think that if you want a great X-Men experience, First Class is your opening film. So that'll introduce you to the X-Men just fine. And Xavier and everything else, and Magneto. And then X2. Because I think X2 is like the prototypical X-Men film. And it's like, it's got all your Wolverine stuff. So there's your Wolverine movie. There's X-Men Origins. It's a better X-Men Origins Wolverine movie than X-Men Origins Wolverine. And then where would we go from there? Days of Future Past? Because it's kind of like a weird sort of sequel to X2. There's got the William Stryker stuff, and it's kind of where it's all headed. And then Logan, and then you're done. There you go.
I think that Days of Future Past and X-Men 2, I think there's a little bit too much of a leap there. So we've probably discussed this before, but like my list would go, but it's basically the same. So you got First Class 1, 2, 3, and then the Wolverine, which is effectively 4, because that's the first one that took place after those films, and it kind of gives a little bit of emotional weight to the third one, with like the whole like Jean Grey death, he's having these traumatic nightmares every time he goes to sleep, or maybe
so you would include universe. You would include X3.
Yes.
I actually I don't hate X3, I have to admit.
I remember having fun with it at the time.
Kelsey Grammer as Beast is like the best casting ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't know we were going to get more Sentinels at the time, so it was cool to see them kill a Sentinel in the Danger Room. And Magneto fucking with a bridge, it's cool. I kind of like the Cure plot line. I think that's a good plot line for X-Men is like, do we want to be cured of this or don't we? I think like it kind of brought, if X-Men 1 was like, Magneto's got this brotherhood of activists and stuff, it kind of brings that to this kind of culminating event. It's not great, but it's not the worst. But that Brett Ratner, he really kind of got me too pretty bad himself. Didn't it? The other day I was like, remember Brett Ratner? And I looked into it and I was like, he hasn't done anything since like 2014. He made like a rock Hercules movie and that I saw in theaters, by the way. And do you know anything about that film?
No.
Can I tell you one thing about it?
Sure.
It turns out that like in the movie, there is no such thing as Hercules. He's a big actor pretending to be Hercules. Like it takes place in the period of Greek mythology, and it's him and a bunch of like buddies running a scam to convince everyone that he's this god, but he's not. They're just people. That's the movie.
That's actually, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, but it doesn't stick the landing.
Well, I'm sure it's a Brett Ratner film.
Yeah.
Hey, he directed The Family Man, but anyone could have directed that film.
What was The Family Man?
It's the Nick Cage Christmas It's a Wonderful Life type thing.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's a really good film.
Did I? Well, I love The Weatherman with Nick Cage.
Yes.
And you do too. And I felt like a kinship with you. I think The Weatherman's like one of the best. It's like in my top 50 easily.
Yeah.
It's got Michael Caine in it. Michael Caine's in there being like, we get back up, Master Wayne. Never.
I really like his living funeral as well, where he just starts talking about this song and then the power goes off. That's just what he said at the funeral.
I like Hope Davis. I like all the camel toe stuff. Yeah, it's a good movie. I'm gonna watch that sometime. I like that movie a lot better than Multiverse of Madness.
Do you think that Multiverse of Madness would have been any better because all the scheduling changed, didn't it? So it was meant to be this and then Spider-Man and then the others. So this would have been the introduction to it. So do you think that would have made it any better? Or how much do you think had to be changed?
I have to think about that because in my head, Spider-Man was the catalyst. It's like, oh no, you opened up the multiverse. Now you're really going to be fucked after this. And then they didn't do that. This movie starts and everything's fine. He's walking around New York peacefully, even though they just had this cataclysmic multiverse event.
Yeah.
It's all reset.
It's all a little bit backwards. And it's like, it's not really a good enough excuse because it's Marvel. So they should be able to put things back in order. Well,
the fans say too much. The fans fuck with the whole thing for me too, because they'll be like, Moon Knight is basically Batman, and they'll be like, in Phase 4 they're gonna go cosmic, and you'll hear these things. You'll hear these things. That
I thought you were gonna say they're gonna go see Batman.
You know what I'm talking about though? Like they'll be, this one's the most comic book like. And then I go see the movie and I get. I don't know. It's like you get served slop and someone's like, that's caviar. It's just annoying. And I'm like, it's pretty shitty to me. And they're like, you've never tried caviar.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.